After working for major corporates, Mmathapelo Mojapelo took over from her father when Elmandi Road Maintenance, I'm afraid, was in a bit of a shambles and falling apart. Didn't really have a background in construction, was actually in communication, if I understand correctly. The first female black director of the construction company, now holding the all-important 51% of the ownership. Mmathapelo's made time for us this Easter Sunday. And happy Easter if you're celebrating. Good to have you on the show.
Happy Easter.
It's a fascinating story, and I'll tell you why, because you come from a world of communication and then you somehow get plunged into construction. Just tell me, if you don't mind me asking, why was it in a shambles and where did you come into all of it? Dad was running it, you were in comms. How did those two come together?
Shucks, I think starting first, I think it was about 2019, 2018. It was literally a sink or swim, you know. Things happen in business for various reasons, and we were faced with a situation and he needed assistance, right? And he came and he was like, well, are you going to do this or not? And obviously I had to sit down and think about, you know, am I going to leave what I considered my passion at the time to go start something that I completely have no idea about? I had to sit down and ask myself some very important questions, meaning one of them was, what does this opportunity mean for me?
What am I actually going to do?
Exactly. What do I see for myself, you know, in the next 5 to 10 years, being at the time 2018? And the answer was simple. I wanted to be a businesswoman, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And this felt like a great opportunity because then I was able to start from the beginning, you know. I wasn't coming into something that was already developed. Yes, we had to work very hard to resuscitate the company, but that's what made it worthwhile, is knowing that I got the opportunity to start with this from the ground and be able to call it my own as well, you know.
Let's be honest as well. It's construction, and I'm using a terrible stereotyping cliche here, but I would contend someone to argue with me, is generally male dominated. It always has been. I don't know, maybe you can tell me if things are changing. You're certainly changing them. But you walk straight into a door, and I'm sure with a room full of men.
Of course. Women in construction only make up 14% of the entire industry. Now, you can imagine how small that number is, and majority of the women within that 14% cannot partake in high-value contracts. So obviously, there is some sort of intimidation, you know.
Is that just because they're women, they can't partake in these things, do you think?
Because you're disrupting society. Remember what a woman is seen as a society. You go to school, you study, you become a teacher, you become a nurse. So coming into an industry like construction, you are disrupting society, you know. And I'm going to speak specifically to road construction. Coming into road construction, I saw a very big gap for women. First of all, we didn't have enough support networks. What should I say is the second one? We didn't have enough support networks, and women are always maybe taking the back seat, you know.
You can't get into the rooms, you can't get into the contracts.
It's too much work. Are you going to handle it? Are you going to get it right, you know? But your work speaks for you.
Were you ever spoken down to? I've always been curious, as someone who's sort of breaking ground. I hate to use the cliche, I'm talking to someone in construction, but I had to do it somewhere in the interview. Breaking ground in this, were you ever actively told you shouldn't be here, this isn't really a woman's job? Straight to your face?
Of course. A couple of times, you know, where people constantly have to validate what you're saying, you know. But like I say, my work speaks for itself, you know. I put myself in such a position that I'm open to criticism. I'm open to that. I'm still learning, but I'm confident in what I'm doing, you know. I know how good my work is, and I let that speak for me, regardless of what the next person has to say. I feel like regardless of what industry you're in, especially if it's male dominated, you will be spoken down. You will be sort of, what should I say, biasness is something that, you know, is still a very big thing.
There could be lots of other young women watching this, for example, who maybe aren't at that stage where they've had to deal with a male-dominated sector. Many would argue it's most sectors, and have to go through the journey you've been through successfully. I mean, here you are, an incredible company. You're the majority shareholder in it as well. How do you explain to them how to handle that? It's going to happen. Let's not pretend it's not going to happen. It's going to happen to probably every young woman coming through. How do they handle that without coming across as, and we know the stereotypes, you're being emotional, etc., etc.? Because I'm sure you've heard these things.
True.
How does a young woman watching you take away from what you've done? What do you tell them to do? How do they handle that?
You know, I don't want to speak specifically to just young women, but I'm going to speak across board. You know, have a vision. I work in road construction and I have a vision for what I'm trying to do for road construction. Gain knowledge on the industry that you're trying to do, you know. I had to sit down and do my own research, learn from the ground, right from the shovel and the asphalt and the bitumen, the jargon that I had to learn, the different kind of machines.
I'm glad you know the jargon. I don't know what you just said to me. I heard bitumen. Not sure what that is.
Yes. It's a type of material that we use for tarring road, basically. Have your vision alive. You know, I want to be one of the best road maintenance companies to ever exist. You know, top 2 and definitely not number 2. So have your vision and keep your vision alive and understand what you're doing. Don't just get into it because you think there's money into it, or, you know, no. Get into it because it's something that you genuinely want to do.
I heard always make sure that your passion is never overshadowed by your paycheck as well.
True.
Make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. You'll get paid anyway. Make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. I'm going to say goodbye to you in just a moment, but just tell me a little bit about the company, because you've had this journey. I hate to use these cliches, but they're just there. The road that you've walked.
Yes.
That's number 2 for the interview, by the way. I'll have a third one, don't worry. I'll wrap it up with a third one. How does your company, how do you try and bring young women into your space now? But you're saying only 14%. Yes. How do you take your knowledge, your experience, your company even, and bring young women or women just into the sector? So
Elmandi Road Maintenance is a road construction and maintenance company. So within that, we have a variety of things that we can do. And as a female, you are more than competent. You know, this is not something that we can say is just hard labor. There are aspects where we can include females within the industry. Like our traffic control, we have a very big segment of traffic control within the road maintenance industry. We try and prioritize women with work that we feel like a woman can do. We then, in the process of choosing people, try and prioritize women. You even find women, you know, operating machines. You know, people should be open to that mindset. It's not impossible. The material that we use, procuring and making the material, the asphalt, the bitumen, those are opportunities where women can get involved, you know. In communities that we work in, we try and skills transfer so that when we leave the communities, we've left women with an opportunity to be able to move forward within the industry.
I just want to ask you very quickly, as I say goodbye to you, I'm sure there's lots of people watching this, they want to get hold of you, follow you. What do the kids say these days? What are the socials or the website? I'm sure someone's going to want to maybe get hold of you and go, look, I saw you on eNCA. I would love to just get your thoughts, get some advice. How do they get hold of you? Don't give out a cell phone number. Someone's done that before. It was a disaster. Don't do that. How do they get hold of you?
We've got socials. We are available on Instagram at Elmandi Road Maintenance. You can contact us via our email, Mmathapelo at Elmandi Roads. We've got a website, www.elmandiroads.co.za. Everything is available on our website. All our contact details, all our information across what we do and what we offer.
And I'm sure many people are going to be taking down those email addresses. By the way, if you're struggling to find it, just go to the website. Also, you can just Google Elmandi, E-L-M-A-N-D-I, Road Maintenance, and you can go and find the company. Mmathapelo, one last question. You knew I was going to ask this. Why have you not fixed our potholes?
Why is there no budget?
There is the question. There is the question. That's exactly it. Mmathapelo, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me.
Incredible entrepreneur joining us here on eNCA. You see, you can do it. Even if you're in one career, believe me, you can change things. And what's the word we used during COVID? Pivot. You can do it. Mmathapelo Mojapelo joining us this morning.